44560600973. Fleur Hassan-Nahoum is Israel's Special Envoy for Trade and Innovation and former Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme. Your reaction to the UK government suspending the trade negotiations?
It's a shame that they've politicised a war that we didn't start, a defensive war.
What happens when a government spokesperson faces tough questions they can't easily brush aside? That's exactly what we're about to find out. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In today's video, we'll watch a tense exchange as Israel's special envoy is pressed by a British presenter over the UK's decision to suspend trade talks. Watch closely as the interview unfolds, and afterward, I'll break down the key moments and share my thoughts.
03456060973. Fleur Hassan-Nahoum is Israel's Special Envoy for Trade and Innovation and former Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme. Your reaction to the UK government suspending the trade negotiations?
It's a shame that they've politicised a war that we didn't start, a defensive war. We didn't want any of this. We had tried. We've had 5 wars with Gaza, all of them started by them. We left Gaza in 2005. A few months before October 7th, we'd issued 20,000 work permits for Gazans, and unfortunately they used that to reconnaissance houses, to burn people, rape women, and basically undergo a massacre, and that's what happened on October 7th. Now, what is a country supposed to do?
A country can't. I'm afraid a country cannot deprive innocent people, particularly civilians, food and water.
Right.
Can't do it.
You're right, but let me tell you the dilemma that Israel is in. Let me share with you that dilemma. We had a ceasefire a few months ago, and lots of food and water flooded into the Gaza Strip. In fact, by any estimation, they should have had food and water till July. But what happens? Hamas steals the aid and then sells it to people at a premium. And with that money, they continue to fund the terrorism against our soldiers. So we're in a catch-22 because we let the aid in like we've been doing the whole time, and Hamas used that as the mechanism to keep funding the war. So instead, what we try to do is the aid flooded in for a month and a half, and that was supposed to be enough, and Hamas stole the aid. So what are we doing right now with the Americans? We're setting up humanitarian zones where families can come and get their food and water, and we can prove that they're getting it and not Hamas is getting it and selling it at a premium, because that's what's been going on.
The aid agencies say there is limited evidence that they have seen for Hamas stealing enough of the aid to make it a viable method to raise funds for the effort to bomb Israel or fire rockets into Israel. The ceasefire agreement which you describe was not, I don't think, the reason given for breaking it, as Israel did, was because Hamas was able to fund itself through collecting this aid. Israel broke that ceasefire agreement. And it still is not a justification for not allowing that aid into innocent people, particularly when the humanitarian agencies themselves say, we can guarantee that this doesn't get to Hamas.
Well, let's unpack this. They haven't guaranteed that it didn't get to Hamas. Not only that, unfortunately, a lot of the aid agencies are employing Hamas, as we've proved with the UNRWA that has been employing Hamas, that are in cahoots with Hamas.
That's one aid agency. One aid agency.
Please, come on.
It's one aid agency.
One of the main ones. And
Yes.
all the aid agencies are working with Hamas, are under the chokehold of Hamas, and everybody knows that to be true. Hamas
is there any evidence for that?
Depriving their people. There's plenty of evidence for that. They're depriving their people of food. They're hiding in tunnels like cowards, and they are letting the innocent people face the music for what they started, and they use those people as human shields. Now, what message is the UK sending today to terrorists all around the world? What they're saying is, listen, you can attack a country completely unprovoked. You can attack, you can rape, you can kill, you can take hostages, and then you can hide behind your civilians. You can steal food from your civilians. And in fact, it's the country that was attacked that are going to get sanctioned. It's a bad message for the rest of the world.
The message that Israel might be sending.
Encouraging terrorism all around the world, because
the
Israel,
encouragement of terrorism might also be, if I may, Fleur, just for a moment. No, just if I may for a moment, Fleur. the message that Israel might be sending and the encouragement of terrorism that Israel might be fostering is to put in a blockade of food and water to otherwise innocent people, particularly children, which will which could well be a breach of humanitarian law and international law, and as well as potentially a war crime, and two, further enrage the population in Gaza sufficient that the next generation of terrorists are going to be brought about.
I don't buy that anymore. The next generation of terrorists are brought about by the indoctrination that was funded by the educational system that UK also helped to fund. I met with many, many leaders in your country, and I said to them, look, you're taking us further away from peace, from funding a curriculum of hatred, rather than closer to peace. That's what's going on here. Ultimately, there is food aids going in. Today there were trucks going in.
9.
But we have to be efficient with that aid. What does that mean? If we let that aid get into the hands of terrorists, then we've done nothing for the local population. We've done nothing for the local population. And that's the bottom line. So what we're doing is
some aid is better than no aid, I'd have thought.
We're creating
But
zones.
it is, because then children can eat.
Do you think that it's okay for Hamas to be selling and profiting from selling aid to the parents of those children that
Absolutely
at this point may not afford it?
But I think it's worse.
I
think it's worse to have children not have anything to eat.
You're 100% correct. But these children weren't getting the aid because Hamas was stealing it. Hamas was taking trucks and drivers at gunpoint.
Why would Israel act in the way that Hamas is acting by not giving that aid to those children? Why would Israel do a similar thing by not allowing any aid in for 11 weeks?
We're trying. You're correct, but we're trying a new mechanism. And the new mechanism is not just letting the trucks go in and God knows what happens to them, which is what was happening up to now. We are letting the trucks go in. We have Americans on the ground. We've just had lots of American private companies come into the ground.
For me, this interview came down to one simple issue: evidence. There's nothing wrong with making a strong argument or defending your government's position, but when you're making serious claims, people naturally expect those claims to be backed up with clear, verifiable facts. That's exactly the point the presenter kept coming back to throughout the interview. In any political debate, credibility matters. It's not enough to make an assertion and expect everyone to accept it at face value. Whether you're a politician, a government representative, or a journalist, the standard should be the same. If you're presenting something as fact, then there should be evidence to support it. That's how informed discussions happen, and that's how the public can fairly evaluate the arguments being made. Now, of course, this is an incredibly sensitive and deeply divisive issue, and people will have very different perspectives on what was said during this exchange. That's precisely why interviews like this are important. They allow claims to be challenged rather than simply repeated. I'd really like to hear what you think. Do you believe the UK's decision to suspend trade talks was justified? And what did you make of the envoy's responses during this interview? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more political commentary like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Thanks so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next one.